Hi, and welcome to Alternatives, the show that likes to ask the question, I wonder if there's another way. This is the very first episode with a live human being across the table from me, and I couldn't be more delighted than to welcome Sasha Graham. Sasha is known in tarot circles as the Tarot Diva, and it's a very appropriate title. So I'm going to say, without further ado, Sasha Graham, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm thrilled that you're here. Now, before I ask you what I hope will be a leading question, what I'm going to do is just show you a bit of what I think is amazing tarot synchronicity that actually happened to me today. Okay?
Excellent.
So I'm also a tarot reader, as you know, although you are considerably more accomplished and experienced than I am. Yes, you are. Don't fight it. So anyway, I drew a single card, as I sometimes do, and I looked for the intuitive message, and this. But I have to complete this bit of synchronicity, because then I opened your book, this fabulous book, Tarot Diva. It's really worth reading. If you're interested in tarot, you've got to read this book. And it flopped open to page 184, the Suit of Pentacles, and the Nine of Pentacles. And let me read you this one sentence. The Nine of Pentacles depicts a gorgeous diva, sublimely blissful with herself and surroundings. I'm going to start with a conclusion about the work you do. I mean, looking at your website, sashagraham.com?
Yes.
That'll be on the screen either now or later, but it'll definitely be there, and it's well worth a look. There's just such a range of things you do. You write, you cook, you consult. I mean, it's wonderful. You also have a recommendation network of colleagues and friends. So here's what I think about your work, and I can sum it up in one word. For me, your work means empowerment. I just want to go back and slow things down.
Okay.
We're not on cable news.
No.
We don't need to be over-caffeinated.
No.
So my first question is, you are a Halloween baby.
I am.
Well, say something about that.
Say something about that.
What could be better?
Nothing. Nothing. It's. People ask me all the time, how did you get into this? Why do you do what you do? What made you become a tarot reader, a tarot author? And my answer is always, well, I'm a Halloween baby. What else? You know, I felt as if I was born marked. Like I felt like I was born and I should have been able to know automatically how to read the cards, you know. As far back as I can remember, it felt like, you know, it was the holiday for witches and ghosts and ghouls, and I felt like I was one of them, you know, so it's...
But I mean, well, how early did that start?
As far back as I can remember.
Seriously?
You know,
like in infancy? Or,
I mean, I don't know. I have photographs, you know, it's the very early 70s. I have these beautiful photographs of a surprise party. I think I was 3 or 4, maybe, and there's lots of black and orange crepe paper, and I feel like I remember those delicious orange cupcakes and black jelly beans, and you know, my family always did a lot to sort of talk about how special it was that I was a Halloween baby, that I was born on Halloween. I had a grandmother who would hand make paper dolls, and she made a whole set of paper dolls. Hi, my name's Sasha, and I'm a Halloween baby, and she gave you know the costumes and the black cat and the broomstick. So it always. I just felt like part of who I was.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Well, okay, let's take the word witch for a moment. I mean, it can be to some people a rather frightening word, but it's not to you, is it?
Oh God, no, not at all. I mean, witch is like psychic, right? It's a very loaded word. A lot of people have a lot of different associations with it. Some really good, some really not so good. Some people are frightened of what it embodies. Other people find it empowering. I find it incredibly empowering because a witch is a powerful woman and I think that most of, you know, my life has been about trying to access my personal power, and I use the tarot cards to do it, and you hit the nail on the head by talking about my work being about empowerment. Again, you mentioned me cooking, right? Every culture, has its version of bread, of dough, right? What you can do with it is essentially endless. Well, the same is true of tarot. You can put anything on top of it. And it's like, because, tarot it's innately built out of a storytelling structure. You can lay any culture on top of it. You could bring any system of religious dogma and put it on top. It fits into
system?
Everything. I would say any system, yeah.
Christians? Does it work for Christians?
Of course.
As it works for Buddhists?
Of course, you could.
Hindus?
Everyone.
Zoroastrians?
Everyone.
Answer the question.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Good.
The
I'm glad
answer
to hear
is
that.
yes, because it's structured. Intuition and psychicness it's like yoga. You stretch a muscle and it'll get stronger and better.
Yeah, I used to do some yoga. Can you tell? Anyway, can you give me an example personally though? Have you had a psychic experience?
I have had psychic experiences.
Sure you have. Yeah, what else would you be born on Halloween?
Well, no, I'm sure that almost anybody out there watching right now has probably had a psychic experience as well.
I have one.
Oh, do you want to share?
No, please.
Well, I think the most common psychic experience that almost everyone has had is when the phone rings and you know who it is on the other end.
Did you have one of those?
Of course.
Hundreds?
Yes.
All the time?
But now it comes more like I'll know somebody's about to text me, and then my phone buzzes.
Oh, really?
So I can
Seriously?
Yeah, and it's.
That must be useful.
No, I wish I had something more useful. You know what I'm saying,
like knowing if the train is
knowing the lottery numbers or knowing how to cure world hunger.
Well, I'm sorry, I thought you could tell me the winning lottery numbers. No?
I would, but I want all the money for myself.
Very important in tarot work to keep an open mind.
Oh, right? Hugely important. Hugely important. Especially, if you're a reader who reads for the public, you have to keep an open mind. And it's a lesson in sociology every time you sit down and read for people at a party, because for years I worked on staying open and not judging and don't predetermine, and I would still find myself doing it, and then I would be blown away by the people that sit across from me. But the lesson that I learned over and over and over again is that everyone we're really all the same.
Sure.
We all have the same, and it doesn't matter if you're like a really successful actor or a gorgeous model or a billionaire or,
You still fear pain and love pleasure and you want success and to be loved and to love and all the rest of the human concerns we all have.
Yes.
I love that. Because I'd like to go back. You were a Halloween baby, and from early childhood at least, you had all these sort of this sense of calling, almost. Yeah.
Yes.
So what happened then? How did you first encounter a deck of tarot cards?
Oh, I bought my first deck of cards when I was in middle school, and we were doing some sort of a middle school carnival where we were going to set up tents and tables and I think sell baked goods and do games. It was probably some sort of a fundraiser for the school, and I thought, I'll do a gypsy tent and I'll read tarot cards. It'll be fabulous.
This was all your own idea?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So I went to the mall. I probably went to Walden Books, and I found I wonder where I don't recall the store where I got the deck. I wonder where I got it. But I did. I got my deck, and it was the Rider-Waite tarot deck, and I brought it home, and I couldn't wait to start reading. So I ripped off the paper, and I opened it up, and I was so upset because I had no idea what the cards meant. I had thought that I would be able to read them. I just thought that it was like I already had the power. And when I looked at all of the cards, I was so confused. And then I looked at the little white book with the interpretations of each card, and
Written by Stuart Kaplan.
Right? I'm like, how this? And then the spreads and the diagrams, and I was but I was like, I'm gonna do it, and then my stepsister's good friend saw the deck in my hands, and she happened to be a born-again Christian, and she ripped them out of my hands and ran and threw them into a trash barrel. We lived on a farm, and promptly lit them on fire and told me they were the devil's work.
This really happened?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's dramatic. And it's a great story. And then what happened? So, in all honesty, I was so. I wasn't destroyed that I wasn't as destroyed that she burned my cards as I was that I didn't know how to read them when I opened them, and
And once I learned how to read cards, and once I realized that it's not as complicated as they made it out to be, it really became the onus for me writing my first book, Tarot Diva, because tarot is so fun, and it's so cool, and it's the kind of thing that I think that anyone who's interested in it should be able to do it, and they shouldn't be overwhelmed or intimidated by it. So that was really the inspiration for my first book. Was to help anybody who maybe was having a moment like that, where they were like, oh, I want to read the cards, but I don't know how.
The fortune-telling part of it coming out.
Well, it's so funny, because if you look back at the 17th and 18th century tarot texts, the books that were written by these male esotericists, some of them talk about fortune-telling, but not all of them. But these were the men who are publishing the books. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sure that the minute 2 cards became available in any shape or form, be they playing cards or tarot cards, somebody started using them for fortune-telling. Because like you said, it's an innate human thing. So in my opinion, women, because it seems to me that fortune-telling is much more, it's a very feminine thing. I'm sure that the first tarot fortune-tellers were sitting in Italian kitchens, and it was grandmas reading the cards, and women who could see the future, because they make such a the story just appears in front of you. But of course, none of this was made the books. None of this was recorded.
So, I mean, but your use of tarot, your personal use of tarot, and as there's the book again, in this wonderful book, it's much beyond, it's not about, will I meet a tall, dark, handsome stranger?
Not at all.
It's much more about, how do I connect with my inner strength? What is the energy I need to, apply to this particular problem? How can I, ramp up my professional life, or how can I meet more exciting people? Or,
I mean, any question, and that's the thing, you can ask the cards any question, and the better question that you ask, the better answer you're going to get.
That's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It very much responds to precision.
Yeah, it really does. And it's not even that, it's not that the tarot is necessarily responding to the precision. It's that your own psyche is responding to that precision. You can ask a proactive question or a very sort of timid question. When somebody comes and says, well, when am I going to fall in love? And that's a question a lot of people want to ask a psychic. That's not the question to be asking. So what I'm going to say, March 19th, 2017. So just sit tight till then. No, you want to ask a question, what can I do to bring the greatest relationship into my life? You always, although tarot was born from the Middle Ages, we know that our lives are not predestined. And I know that if I stood up and threw this delicious tea in your face, it would, I know what would happen. I would alter my future. We all have tremendous power. So tarot helps you to make those good decisions.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been talking to Sasha Graham, the Tarot Diva, highly experienced tarot reader, and a great deal to offer and contribute in the field. I couldn't be more pleased to have had her as my first guest. Please visit her website for more information about what she does and how you can access her work, sashagraham.com. And as always, if you'd like to know more about me and what I do, please go to McPhillamytarot.com, and you'll find lots of information there. Thank you very much for watching. You've been watching Alternatives. It's the program that asks the question, I wonder if there's another way. Until next time, thank you.